Our present moral and religious degradation is due mostly to our environment and to our wrong training. The proper molding of the mind is altogether neglected in all phases of education and training. Every possible effort is made to provide for worldly training of the right type in order to enable a man to secure a decent and comfortable living. But the proper training required for the realization of self is totally neglected. The least significance, if at all, is attached to this most vital problem of life. Reciting daily a few verses in praise of a god or goddess, or observing certain mechanical formalities by way of worship, is all that the masses are taught to do. They do it for their whole life, but probably without any gain whatsoever. Internal calmness still remains wanting in them. Activities of the mind, such as desires, temptations, and emotional outbursts, remain as they were ever before. The main purpose of training is that a man should begin to imbibe within him as much of godly attributes as possible. If this is not achieved, the system of training is defective and consequently of no avail. The proper making of a man must be a natural result of the right type of training. Proper making is compromised of the right molding of the mind, with due moderation in the exercise of all our senses and faculties. Thus, the right type of training under the guidance of a capable master is by far the most important factor in our proper making, without which higher attainments in spirituality are never possible. Most of the people have, in some way or the other, a natural inclination towards God. Yet those who succeed in realizing God are very rare. The cause is defective guidance and wrong training, which leads a man away from the real path with the result that he is lost forever. Now, for a man of ordinary capacity, it is a pretty hard task to judge whether his training is rightly directed or not. A man tamely or unquestioningly follows the instructions of one whom he has accepted as his guru and practices as he is required by him to do. It is very difficult for him to ascertain whether he is being guided along the right path or not. This is a great problem before the people, who are themselves quite ignorant in matters concerning realization. You will find numerous teachers of religion who will tell you not to eat garlic, onion, or carrot and insist upon you to adopt sadhanas and practices which have no real significance, or a hundred other such triflings which will never lead you even a step nearer to reality. This is no training. Such teachers are really deceiving themselves as well as those whom they teach. You must be sure that unless internal peace, calmness of mind, simplicity, and lightness follow as the natural result of your practices, you are proceeding on the wrong lines and your training is defective. Methods of spiritual training commonly adopted by most of the readers today are based on hard and fast rules which often do not correspond with our worldly life. Hence, in most cases, they prove to be impracticable for those leading a worldly life. Generally, teachers induce people to practice restraint by adopting a particular form of living disconnected with the worldly concerns and to practice devotion for hours together. Evidently, such a type of training is not meant for people in general who cannot dissociate themselves from worldly ties or devote to so much time to their devotional exercises. It is for this reason that their preachings do not produce the desired effect, and in spite of their best efforts, they fail to mold them accordingly. The fact is that they are more theoretical than practical. Is it ever possible for the masses to renounce the world for the sake of liberation? Certainly not. What good then do the common people derive from their teachings? Some of them are even bold enough to proclaim their mistaken notion that higher attainments in spirituality are not possible in a grihastha ashram or household life. It is really means that they have nothing to impart to the common people except to tell them certain superficial things such as frequent bathing in Ganges, feeding the fishes with flour pills, or reading the scriptures over and over again. The real problem before us is not to provide means for the spiritual training of a chosen few who have renounced the world, but for people in general, whose duties in the world, besides the devotional, are manifold, which they cannot safely ignore. They in fact fail in their duty if they neglect any of them. To them, it is essential that their spiritual as well as worldly life must go side by side, equally resplendent, and for this, we have to discover the right means. Proper spiritual training, fitting closely with the present worldly life, is therefore the only thing required for spiritual growth of the common people, and it has so far been unfortunately neglected. For such a type of training, we stand in need of help from outside in most cases. This help comes from the Guru or the Master, who is the only person able to shape our destiny. When this help comes, the spiritual life is awakened and the higher powers of the soul are roused to help our growth. Such an impulse is to be sought only from one of our own fellow beings of the highest caliber, who may be within our approach, ready to solve our difficulties at any time. The practice of seeking inspiration or guidance from gods and demigods or from some desperate souls or from departed soul, treating it as guru or master is in most cases very dangerous.